name is Deborah Jackson, and I'm a student at Minnesota West in the nursing program. And how are you all today? Good. Glad to hear. Today I'm going to be talking about neck manipulation by chiropractors and the negative consequences that can happen. In August of 2014, the American Heart Association released an article stating that there can be a correlation between neck manipulation and strokes. When we decide to undergo healthcare procedures, generally there are risks that are involved with that. And as a stroke survivor myself, I think it is important to bring about awareness of such risks when you undergo any procedure. A stroke takes place when there is an interruption of blood supply to the brain. The brain has many functions and in many different areas. When a particular area of the brain is deprived of blood, those particular tissues become damaged. Now I would like to explain how going to a chiropractor to have your neck adjusted can cause consequences. First, I would like to share with you the anatomy or the structure of the neck, and I've placed the picture in front of you. That is your part of your cervical spine. For the spinal column, as you can see, it extends all the way from your tailbone up to the base of your neck, and on the side of the spine, you'll see in the diagram that there's a hole on each side of the spinal column where there's an artery that runs up through there and feeds up into the brain, and that is what supplies your brain with blood. And as we all know, blood has oxygen in it, and oxygen is very important for healthy and viable tissues. Now, some of you may be wondering what neck manipulation is. I don't know if any of you guys have ever had neck manipulation. Anyway, this generally happens in the office of a chiropractor. This is where they go in and they rotate your neck to the side a couple of times and then give just one good thrust or jerk to one side and literally pop the vertebrae within the neck. Sometimes people use it for headaches. Some people use it for back pain. When they do neck manipulation, though, as you can see in the picture where that artery goes up and then it takes a 45-degree turn and it combines in with the other artery and goes up into the brain, that is generally where the tear happens. And so now, the artery in and of itself, I brought an example. I'm using a cheese stick because it was the only thing I really had. But it has three layers in it. You have an outer layer and a middle layer and then an inner layer. And the artery, for the most part, is very flexible. As we age, we lose the elasticity in our arteries, and we get such things as like atherosclerosis and arterial sclerosis and whatnot. But anyway, when your neck is adjusted and if there is a tear, it's kind of like on the inner lining, you'll get what they call, it's like a leaflet or a shred. And any time that there is an obstruction in an artery or a vein, as far as that goes, blood will tend to cling to it. And so blood can go back behind this leaflet and pool. And depending upon what the makeup of your blood is, some people might clot right away. Some people it might take several days. Once the clot decides to dislodge itself, it then goes into the bloodstream and into the brain and causes a stroke. The symptoms that you will find with a stroke are those of like transischemic attacks, those with visual disturbances, headaches, nausea, vomiting. In my case, I had a really bad sensation of vertigo and uncontrollable vomiting, and then I couldn't walk. So anyway, once that happens, if you do have those symptoms, then obviously you would seek help immediately and go to the hospital. The longer the brain tissues are deprived of oxygen, the more damage will occur. Kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been talked to about a heart attack. They say muscle is time, so the quicker you get in and get it diagnosed and taken care of, you're saving heart muscle. This is kind of the same thing with the tissues in your brain as well. Usually the first person to intervene on this is a neurologist, and they use maneuvers to determine if it's affected one side or the other, and also a radiologist. And they run procedures such as CAT scans or MRIs, MRAs. MRAs are generally used because they use a contrast material that goes up through the artery, and that's where they can see that there's been a blockage. So, the effects of this particular type of stroke can vary. Most people do not suffer major permanent damage, but that does not say that permanent damage cannot occur. So, I recently read an article in the American Chiropractor magazine that states that we should all be aware of risks associated with neck manipulation, and that assigned consent should be obtained prior to the procedure. So, in conclusion, I think it's important that with any procedure you have, whether it be medical or non-medical, that you be aware of the risks that can happen. Sometimes we have to be our own advocate and do what is right for us. So if you think about going to a chiropractor for neck manipulation, you might visit with your doctor and be aware of the risks. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Or
I was remembering reading, when you started talking, reading an article about we gals go to the beauty shop. When you're laid back and you lay your neck, sometimes they can put pressure from the sink or the back of the chair and it'll do the same thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It could do the same thing.
They say that for the most, it takes trauma to tear the artery.
Okay.
Some chiropractors say that the beauty sink or even like a sneeze, or if you retching or whatever the case may be, that can happen also. But most of the time it's from like an automobile accident, a sports injury.
I lean over at the beauty shop. I'm the only one that does that, but stand up and lean over the sink because I have had surgery on the third. I have a plate in there, so I can't.
Oh,
and I can't go to a chiropractor.
Oh.
Or a massage person or anything, but I just lean over because they told me, the doctor said, do not, you know.
Right. Actually, the first time that I did go to the beautician after I'd had mine, she piled little towels up on there so that, you know, my head was still kind of over it, but not flexed all the way back.
I just can't do that.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of a scary situation, especially when you think about where that artery is. It's encased in a bone, you know, so it takes a pretty good blow for it to tear the inside of it even. So,
how about masseuses? If you go to a masseuse, they use their thumb and
yeah, and they don't, you know, I haven't done any
muscles, I think.
Right, muscles and tendons and ligaments, and I haven't done any research on massage therapy, but I can only safely assume that would only, actually when I've only been to the chiropractor twice, and that was only the second time I had ever been, and they actually use a TENS unit, and I don't know if you're familiar with those. It's a little machine that has little electrodes that people use them to place on their lower back for if you have back pain or neck pain or even tense muscles. And then you can adjust the amount of electricity that goes through there, and it's kind of a pulsating or vibrating response that you get, and that loosens your muscles, or you know, especially like up in the neck, and that's what the chiropractor had done with me, and I think that's kind of a standard procedure when you go to a chiropractor.
I had ultrasound.
Oh, okay. Did that benefit you?
Well, I had a cyst on my fourth and fifth vertebrae.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, it did, but the cysts are still there, but they're just all shriveled up.
Oh, they will not remove those?
No,
Okay.
too close to the spine.
Oh, yeah. cause you a lot of pain?
Only if I walk away a long ways, like a block,
Yeah.
you know, or
This-
if I stay in a long time.
Or sitting too long, does that? You know, because sometimes when people with back pain have to move positions quite frequently, you know, whether it be walking, sitting, standing, so.
Well, it's always, I always know it's there,
Mhm.
but I just don't complain. And I don't take pills for it unless I really am in pain.
Mhm.
I'm just not a pill taker.
Right. Well, sometimes that's the healthiest way to be because, you know, everything that goes in here has to be metabolized through the liver and through the kidneys. And everything is only made to last for so long, you
Well,
know?
I just started yoga, so.
Yes, my mother does yoga, as you guys probably all know. Yeah.
I went up the wall on a headstand today.
Oh, did you? And God does that.
I think we all need a lesson.
I'm just
What?
doing the bare beginnings again. I used to do it a lot, the why.
And that is so awesome that you get out and you do that. It really is. You know, I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to come today. I very much appreciate it.
Thanks
Okay.
for coming.
Thank you so much.